Well, let's go ahead and get started with a little bit of introductions. I'll introduce myself first because I think everybody coming here knows me. But I think, well, maybe not, Sarah. I think not. But I'm Robin Thomas, and this is actually one of the meetings I gather together. I love to bring speakers in. So if anybody wants to be a speaker sometime, I love to bring speakers into a lunch and learn. And frequently it's about some health topic or something about what the specialty the person is bringing to the board and how they do their business and what they do. And it's just about wellness and health. But Sarah is fantastic because she loves helping practitioners who are in wellness. So it's really a little bit different this time, but it's going to be great. Sarah's going to give a little presentation, and then we'll have plenty of time to have a conversation, ask her questions, talk amongst ourselves about our own experiences with marketing. Most wellness providers love what they do and hate the marketing part. So it's good. I've been in business now for 18 years. Can you imagine, Joe? 18 years it's been. Because I had a whole career before that in science. Here comes Liz. I had a whole career before that as a lab rat in medical research, seeing probably about 3-4 people every day, unless they were patients of the physicians I worked with. And that would be like really brief periods. So this has become an eye-opener to me to have a business and myself thinking about marketing and marketing myself. It's easier to market other people than it is to market yourself, honestly. So welcome, Liz.
Hello.
We're doing brief intros. I'll wait for Sarah at the end, right before you speak. But Lori, can you tell us a little bit about you? You could say what interested you in coming here and where you're from and what you do.
I am from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I am the care package mama. I'm always interested in meeting new people, and Robin and I had, met each other through networking, and I wanted to come and support her and see what this was all about. I create care packages, gift packages, personalized. I like to use local businesses, women-owned businesses. So when someone receives a gift package, they know it was personalized, it was thought of. I'm working on one right now with Robin, and just so the person feels special. I like it. It makes me smile. I'm a big gift giver. And
it's so much fun to work with Lori.
I love it.
She's getting a package together for Kent, for my husband, Kent, for Father's Day.
I feel like I know these people and I get to know them, and I really do. It makes me happy. It really does.
Mm-hmm. It's really nice, and you'll do care packages for children who are off at college or.
Absolutely. That's what I've always done, even before I had my business, for my daughter, her friends. Oh yeah, for sure. And that's the next thing that I want to market is, I know the colleges offer usually, kind of a set thing, but the same, everybody gets the same thing. So why not get something that they'll eat, that they'll read, that they'll like? So yeah, thank you for having me.
Happy to have you here. Erica's coming in. Yeah, I think there's some people here who love to get gifts in the mail.
I love to give gifts too.
Yes. It's fun.
Check Lori out. Yes, she's fun. She makes it fun too. It's all kinds of great things. Maggie. Yeah, I know you mentioned a little bit, but tell us more about what you're doing.
Sure. So I'm Migdalia Rodriguez, and I am the owner of Infinite Flow Healing, and I offer a variety of different energy healing modalities. I'm attuned and offer Reiki archangelic light healing. I do shamanic Reiki healing, and I'm getting trained in doing Akashic readings as well. So I do a lot to teach or help people understand themselves from the perspective of energy, and really focus on just holistic wellness as well with people, just how they can use that information, the healing techniques to just live a more balanced life, and you know, really tap into their divinity, and you know, create abundant life for themselves. Robin invited me to this, and I was so thrilled, because I am currently redoing my website and kind of redoing my brand. And this is kind of perfect information for me at this time. So I'm really grateful to be here, and nice to meet everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Frida.
Okay. So Frida Lynn here. I am a skincare specialist, but I also was a nutritionist for 27 years. So I don't really just limit to my skincare there. But so what I represent is a microbiome friendly skincare. So which I think all of you probably know about microbiome. That's a bacterial flora in our body. 57% of our body are that. So I love that I get opportunity to do workshop to bring people's awareness about microbiome. A lot of people don't know. And so because that's going to be so important moving forward when we talk about health and wellness. And then after people find about that, hopefully help them to establish good habits from there. And then after they attend a workshop, if people say, yeah, I do wanted to have clean skincare, makeup, or whatever, then I represent in a company that is microbiome friendly with a probiotic in there, and also with the anti-aging ingredient. So yeah, this is I've been waiting for this, because when I talked to Sarah, she was telling me she's having something of this. Of course, I should realize at that time it's going to be connected with Robin, right? So yes, so glad to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful to have you here. Joe.
Well, hey, everybody. So, well, my number one reason here today is to support Sarah, which I'm super excited to see Sarah. But I'm also a big fan of Robin Thomas's. Robin has been a good friend of mine for many years. She's helped me to lose a lot of weight. I am a regular user of the USANA products, and so she has helped me in many more ways than you can believe. But what I do is I am a speaker and I am a coach. I help people with their business mindset and sales accountability. And what I like to do is I like to help business owners and sales professionals who are at a specific place in their business and they're trying to move to that next level, and they need support, they need help, they need ideas. I'm the guy. The kind of coaching that I practice is called strategic intervention coaching, and it's very effective in helping business owners and salespeople. So I'm Joe Navarra, getting you a total business breakthrough.
Yeah, and he absolutely helped me a lot. Like I said in the beginning, I was a scientist who knew nothing about business, so he's helped me a lot over the years. Yeah, thank you, Joe. Thank you for coming. Thank you for attending.
Mutual. Thanks.
A win-win situation. Susanna, so great to see you here.
Oh yes, thanks. Thank you for having us. My name is Susanna Alley. I am a certified feng shui practitioner. So I've trained in classical feng shui and in Western, and I also like to bring in elements of nature. So I've trained in biophilic design as well. And yeah, I feel like feng shui is very much a wellness modality, because you can work on your inner self and your outer self all you want, but if you have a lot of stagnation of energy in your home or things aren't flowing correctly, it really impacts you in many, many ways. So, and marketing is definitely not my strong suit. Yeah, on all fronts. So I'm really happy to be here to learn.
Great, that's wonderful. Yes, that's so typical of those of us in wellness. We want to just stick to what we do. Liz, my dear.
Hello. My name is Liz Kahn. I sometimes refer to myself as a mental health magician. I'm actually a behavioral scientist working in mental health. So I teach people strategies for how to let go, move on, and get over things in a meaningful way without therapy and without drugs. And it's measurable. So I get to actually track people's progress week to week. So that's me. I love doing what I do and I struggle with marketing. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, wonderful, Liz. She's a dear friend too. You all. Erica, so good to see you here.
Hey, great to see you too, Robin. Sorry, I was having problems with my computer. That's why I'm on my phone.
That happens.
Yes, yes. Well, thanks for having me. So I'm very similar to what Liz does, but more on weight loss. So it's changing women's relationship with their food. And it's really important because the quick fixes just end up gaining weight, you know, for women later, 1 or 2 years later, or after they're done with their products. So for me, it's going deeper. It's going into the mental reframing and figuring out where that deeper reason why we overeat in the first place and have that emotional eating tendencies that, you know, people have a tendency to think it's just eating a tub of ice cream, right, at night. But
Yeah.
Emotional eating is also, you know, when you're mad, when you're happy, when you're frustrated, when you're, you know, not just sad. So that's what I like to focus on is just, you know, kind of getting people back to a natural balance in their life with weight loss. And my business name is EG Wellness Body and Mind Transformations.
I love that. That's so much more sustainable than these quick fad diets.
Yeah. And that's what I like to see.
Yes, absolutely. Thursel.
Thank you.
Hi. I accidentally double booked myself, but then the other thing isn't happening yet. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna dive on there and see what's going on. So we're doing introductions.
Yes.
Hey, I'm Thursel, and I do functional nutritional therapy, primarily focused on women and their families, and also a heavy focus on fertility, and getting ready to dive into PCOS and fertility with a 3-month program that we're offering clients. We're aiming for early August. We'll see how it goes.
Well, good luck. That will be wonderful. That'll be a wonderful thing. I'll have to have you come back and speak about it too.
Absolutely. Thanks.
When you're ready. When you're ready.
Yeah.
Well, Sarah, I would love to just, I'll briefly introduce you, and then you could actually introduce yourself too, if you'd like. Would you like?
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there. Okay. I met Sarah through Joe. So that is one of the things. I mean, Joe always sends me wonderful people to meet, but I met her through Joe. She, even though she's a North Carolina native, she moved back last summer. And the big news, I guess, the big news right on her mind right now is she's pregnant and due in July. So we met, and I said, oh, sometime you might want to speak. And she's like, well, let's make it pretty soon because there's a baby coming.
Yeah, you don't want to deal with me after July 1st.
Well, I'll deal with you, but not. I don't want to make you speak and add another thing to your load. There's the founder of Traction IQ, a consulting company whose primary goal is to help business owners increase revenue and meet their long-term financial goals. She uses a tactical consulting model and enabling business owners to build a strategy to lay groundwork for repeatable, sustainable success. Say that 4 times. Repeatable, sustainable success.
You're going to hear me say that a lot.
She works with clients successfully to define the target markets, which has got to be one of the most important things, to really define your target market, develop a comprehensive sales process, prepare and execute planning for future financial events like buy or sell, what is this one? Buy or sell sides and
If you want to
business.
sell your company, getting you ready to make sure you get the most value out of your business.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Since selling my company has not been on my mind, and I wasn't sure what that was. Thank you so much, Sarah. Did you want to share your screen?
I sure do. Let me go ahead and do that. All right. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. Well, Robin, thank you so much for that introduction. If you guys had to print off directions to get here, well, then you're in the right place. I'm just kidding. That is a quote from my favorite Dr. Rick from the Progressive commercials. If you're not familiar with him, he helps people from turning into their parents, and I 100% consider him part of the wellness community. And, again, I want to thank Robin for letting me present today and Joe for introducing me to Robin. My name is Sarah Davis. And when I say that practitioners in the wellness community have saved my life, I do not think I'm exaggerating. From the nutritionist I've worked with while having gestational diabetes, to the acupuncturist who knew exactly what to do to eliminate my chronic vertigo, to the Reiki practitioners, chiropractors, skincare specialists, herbalists I've met with and worked with over the years. I truly believe this community is an incredibly important part of our world. And it's one of my professional goals to help your businesses succeed. So like Robin mentioned, in my company, Traction IQ, I consult with business owners to create a strategy for improved sales and long-term revenue growth. One of the number one way that I do that, one of the first ways I do that is to help them help you guys understand your target market, how to gain traction, and then increase revenue in serving that market. So over the next 15 to 20 minutes, we're going to talk about a couple of different things. We're going to talk about, what makes you unique. We're going to talk about how you find your target market. And we're going to talk about how you build a playbook on serving that market. So my goal for you at the end of this presentation is that you leave with the practical next steps on how to better understand your own target market and to build success around that. We're going to save some time at the end for Q&A. Robin, is the chat feature on in here? I'm not sure if it is. I'm made this small. But anyway, we'll have some time at the end for Q&A, but if anything comes to mind during the presentation, oh, yep, it is, I see. Go ahead and put your questions in the chat, and then we can just read them then so that it's like top of mind. Also, this presentation is being recorded, so I hope that you'll take notes, but if you need to go back and re-listen, or if you think that there's anyone who might benefit from also hearing this presentation and conversation, you'll be able to share it with them after. So let's get started. All right. So let's begin with talking about your own uniqueness. Your uniqueness is your greatest strength. So I like to start this on a personal level, and then we're going to move into the less personal, more business side of it. And now that I know a little bit about each of you and your businesses, I kind of thought this through, thinking like, I would imagine that the topic of understanding your target market intrigued you, maybe as a favor to me, or maybe for one of the following reasons. You might be in a crowded marketplace and you're hoping to learn how to differentiate yourself. Maybe you have a specific type of client that you prefer working with, but you don't feel like you're in front of them as much as you'd like to be. Or maybe your unique life or work experiences are the reason you started your business, and you get frustrated because you don't feel like you're using that experience, to the extent that you'd like to. Whatever that reason is, I'm just so glad that you're here. And I truly believe that every business owner starts their company with specific goals in mind. Those goals stem from part of what makes us unique. It's what is the quote unquote secret sauce that you bring to the table that no one else does. And sometimes our goals get lost in the noise of everything else that's going on in the life of a business owner. So let's go ahead and take a minute to reflect and ask ourselves a few questions that will remind us or even uncover, what makes each of us unique. So starting with questions like, how do you spend your free time? What life experiences inspired you to do or start your business? What topics do you love learning about? And then maybe the most important one, I think, is when it comes to your business, what types of clients do you get the most excited to work with? Being able to answer these questions and knowing these things about yourself is critical to understanding how you can differentiate yourself as a wellness practitioner in a crowded marketplace. When you can differentiate yourself, this is where you can unlock sustainable revenue from your target market. So I hope that in just looking at these questions, you'll write down anything that comes to mind and answering them, or even write down the questions themselves and answer it another time, because we're going to come back to this in just a few minutes when we talk about where our target market lives and how we find that. So how do we find it? I'm going to use a case study of an acupuncturist I've worked with as an example as we go through the next few slides. All right, so starting it from a high level, we're looking at the biggest piece of this puzzle, the wellness marketplace. The wellness marketplace is a very broad market, and it consists of all types of practitioners. Just look at everyone that's on the call today. Every single one of you are part of this wellness community. I mean, there's Dr. Rick as well. I'm just kidding, but you see what I'm saying. There's a lot of different types of people, a lot of different types of practitioners. Okay. And clearly this market exists because there's a need for every single one of these services. Knowing that there is a marketplace that you can exist in is a big deal. Just knowing that from the very beginning, you already know that there's a need for what you do. I've worked with people who are out there creating solutions to problems that don't exist, but you already know that the world needs you and your specific set of skills. So now let's break it down. Let's take it to the next level. Within the wellness marketplace, all of you come to the table with specific experience, training, and education. Like I said, we're going to use someone that I've worked with previously as an example to kind of talk through this. So Dr. Leslie is an acupuncturist and has a practice in New York City, where I formerly lived. She's board certified in acupuncture in the state of New York. She has a doctorate in acupuncture and Chinese medicine and an undergraduate degree in psychology. Now, notice that these are things that she has. These are not who she is. There are tons of board certified doctors of acupuncture and Chinese medicine in New York, and I would bet money on, a high percentage of them having undergraduate degrees in psychology. These are not the reasons that her clients keep coming back, but these are the reasons that these are the things that make it possible for her to do what she does. So now let's take what we talked about, a few minutes ago and what makes us unique. Let's think back to those questions and think about what sets us apart. These are the reasons that your clients choose you. In the example of Dr. Leslie, she became passionate about alternative medicine after having several healing experiences with alternative medicine practitioners as a young child. That led her to, after high school, travel the world and studying various types of alternative medicine, which then led her to having an interest in the healing effects of alternative medicine, specifically on women's reproductive health. Now, when these three groups overlap, this is where we find your target market. In the example of Dr. Leslie, her focus for the past several years has been, again, in assisting women of reproductive age through conceiving naturally and assisting in IVF treatment. Her education makes her legally certified to do so, and because she works in alternative medicine, she falls into the wellness marketplace. So you can see how all three of these groups overlap to create her specific target market. And when you know how these groups work together to create your target market, it means that you understand the problems that only you can solve for your clients. So why is it even important to know your target market? Now that we know how to find your target market, knowing them does a couple of very important things for your business. First of all, it keeps you focused. And not being focused is one of the #1 killers of business. Trying to be all things to all people is not a sustainable business model. I actually have a presentation on that on Friday if you'd like to join. When you're focused, though, you can create a targeted approach for that specific market that is so good that you become an expert in that area. Being focused enables you to know your target market's needs as well or better than they do. And being focused and being known as an expert leads to the predictable, sustainable revenue model that, that Robin mentioned at the beginning. From there, you'll be able to better understand what your revenue is going to look like and strategically grow your own business accordingly. Having that predictable, sustainable revenue over time will make your company more valuable. Let's say your eventual exit strategy is to sell your business. You'll be able to sell much faster and at a higher price. If your goal is to leave your business to a family member, you'll be setting them up for success with a proven business model. If your goal is to liquidate your business and use it for retirement, well, you get the idea here. You're setting yourself up for success. So now that we know how to find our target market, let's take this one step further. How do we understand them? And the key to solving the problems of your target market is to interview them. It's very important that at this stage you conduct some market research. And I know that sounds intimidating, but I'm going to try to make this as easy as possible and always open to answer any questions you have. And a lot of times too, you may think that you already know this information, but our goal here in conducting this type of research is to hear what your target market has to say about their own problems. And just in hearing what a couple of you guys said at the beginning in the introductions about how maybe you've struggled with marketing, or, I can speak for myself, and I know it feels intimidating. It is intimidating. Being able to have your target market say, talk about their problems in their own words uncovers themes. And in other words, it helps you to speak their language. So they're telling you their problems, they're explaining what it is, and then you can use that to help them solve their problems. So let's actually go back to the example from the beginning of Dr. Leslie. When I met her in 2018, she was seeing patients for a multitude of reasons. In fact, we met because I was one of them. She was frustrated that she wasn't able to exclusively work with patients that she was passionate about helping. No offense to me, I guess, that my, chronic vertigo was not exactly what she wanted to be treating. And she thought that in order to grow her business, she needed to be all things to all people who wanted acupuncture treatments. She was feeling spread thin, and she was frustrated that she wasn't able to get in front of, the women of reproductive age who are struggling to conceive naturally and those who are going through IVF treatments. So she started with 5 current clients to start her market research. These 5 clients led her to Facebook groups where women were openly talking about their problems with fertility. And then from there, she was able to meet 10 more women. Using open-ended questions like the ones I've listed on this slide, Dr. Leslie was able to immerse herself in their world so much that she came to understand how to market to these women in a way that addressed their pain, again, using their own words. She came to understand where these women came together to communicate, and she was able to reach people directly. You know, as you can imagine, because of the nature of fertility issues, this wasn't something, you know, you could easily see on someone's LinkedIn profile or even necessarily just their Facebook profile. She had to get directly into the groups where they were and where they felt comfortable. She was able to, and then most importantly, she uncovered the roadblocks that were keeping these women from using alternative medicine to address the issues that they were facing around fertility. So in some cases, they didn't even know that it was an option. Some didn't understand how it could help, but most women assumed that it wasn't affordable or even available to them. So knowing this information enabled Dr. Leslie to build a network of women who see her as an expert when it comes to women's reproductive health using acupuncture and Chinese medicine. So now, you know, I know that was a lot of information, but now that you've uncovered, you know, what makes you unique, you've learned how to identify your own target market, and you've learned how to serve your target market. I hope that these strategies, you'll be able to take these strategies into the world and put them into practice. You know, continue using these time and time again, refine your target market, and to continue understanding them. If we've learned anything over the past year, it's that things evolve and things change, sometimes rather quickly. And when you're frustrated or at a point where you're questioning why it is you do what you do, using these types of strategies that I've just laid out, you know, self-reflection, understanding your target market, and then, you know, getting in there and learning from that target market, you know, those types of strategies will remind you, you know, why you started your business to begin with, and then help set yourself up for long-term success. So thank you so much for your time. If you go through these exercises, if you apply these, you know, please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. I put my contact information up here. And if you need anything, just please let me know.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I know that there can be lots of questions, but I think, and I will definitely send an email out tomorrow with a recording and your contact information also. Emika came in during, so we're going to welcome Emika.
Hi, Emika.
Thank you so much, and I'm really sorry I'm late. I had a client appointment and I just kind of like ran really like so much longer than I expected. So I'm sorry I'm late, but I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I think everybody here can identify with having a client and having things run longer than expected. I understand that. You want to say before we can start the discussion, because I'm sure people have questions. Do you want to say briefly what you do, Emika? So Sarah knows, and so we all know.
Sure. So my name is Emika, and I'm a mindset coach focusing on emotional wellness. And before that, I used to be I actually still am a psychiatric nurse practitioner. So when Robin told me about this, I was like, wow, this is kind of perfect. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah.
I actually met Emika through one of Frida's spa nights.
Right. Yeah.
It's all circling around.
It all comes together.
That's lovely. Well, I was thinking, if you have a question, you can either raise your hand. You know how to raise your hand? You go to the reactions and then click on that, and there's a raised hand reaction there. You can watch for that. Or you can type it in the chat box if you'd like to do that. Either way, I'm interested, I'll get the ball rolling, but getting to know your target market, and just assume that somebody who is just starting out in business and they don't have clients to interview yet.
Yep.
What would be a way to go about that? Or if,
Yeah.
or no.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that that's where you go back to, it's where you go back to understanding where those three places overlap. So what market are you in? What education training do you have? And then what do you like, why, what's the why behind why you're even doing this? Where does that overlap? And then like identifying like what that looks like. So who those people are. So then, for me, when I've done this in the past, when I was starting out, well, I just realized you can see my diffuser blowing smoke. When I started doing this in the past, I actually did reach out to people on LinkedIn. I cold messaged people and just said, hey, I'm looking to start a business, kind of explained what I'm doing, and ask if they would set aside 10 to 15 minutes to talk to me. That was really helpful. And I got really good feedback, and people were receptive to it. I think by nature, people are, especially when at first, when they're like, oh, she's not trying to sell me something. She just wants my info, she just wants to learn from me. People want to help people. So that's how I did it at first, when I didn't have necessarily a network or people to talk to or ask questions to.
Okay. Okay, that's good. That's good, because I've seen people will say use Facebook groups, but I really think you need to get to know the people and not just pop in and.
Yeah. It's kind of, you get to need to know the people, and then they'll tell you if it isn't a Facebook group, then that's great. Then that's where you go. That's where you can, then continue to, take it down to the next level, to a more granular level, if you will. But you kind of got to start a little bit broad. Talking to people, asking friends, I think, do you know anybody who fits this type of, who checks these kind of boxes, fits this type of criteria? Do you recommend I speak to anybody who, that kind of thing, looking at LinkedIn, stuff like that. It's a good place to start.
How about the people who don't like social media?
I can very wholeheartedly identify with that as well. I think, again, talking to people that are in your day-to-day life and just asking, do you know anybody who checks these types of boxes, or who might meet this type of criteria? I'm looking to grow my business and would love to talk to them. Would you make an introduction for me? Again, I think people genuinely want to help people, especially when they're sincere about it and coming from an authentic place. So I think that that's a good place to start.
Great.
I have how do you deal with, I want to say skepticism, but I don't think it is. Like in my world, when somebody makes a recommendation to somebody that they should talk to me, what I hear from them is, I don't want them to think that I think they're crazy, or that they're, and so like, have you found ways for people who are in the helping in the uncomfortable world? Do you have strategies to help respond to things like that?
So let me just make sure I understand the question right. So you're talking about if somebody makes a recommendation, but they're not necessarily the right type of client that you're looking to meet with?
Well, okay, so I'm kind of linking it to the social media thing. Like, let's say I have a friend who says, I want to bring Liz into this group because, and she's not going to pitch to you. She's not going to do any of those things. Yeah. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. And so then it's like, in a group that people have already self-identified as we have issues, but they don't actually want the help. They like the community. I mean, those are the things that I've come across. And this is why I cringe when I think about social media and groups and things like that.
So I think I think in that kind of a situation, you can politely, you could join it, just see what it's about. But I think you can also politely decline from the beginning.
Well, and I mean, it's like, these were things that I had done in the past, because this is not a new recommendation. Go where your people are, right? Like be amongst them.
Right.
And unfortunately, I feel like in certain groups, I'm like persona non grata. Like, how do you recover from something like that?
I think, well, okay, for me, so my background is in sales. Okay. And it's my background's in finance and in sales. So I think sometimes people think that, I'm just speaking from personal experience here, I think people sometimes assume that I'm going to go into a group and I'm going to try to pitch something. I'm going to try to sell somebody something because of the background that I come from. And that's not necessarily the case. Like, I want to come in as somebody who understands where these people are. So I think that in your case, from a healing perspective, maybe going into a group like that and sharing, examples of how maybe you've helped people, or, if people don't want help, you can only provide so much. But just sharing examples of like how you've worked with people or how you've helped people, that if that doesn't inspire them to come to you and seek that help, then that's not necessarily right.
There's no recovering from that.
Exactly. There's no, yeah. So I do think though that, I used Facebook groups as an example in this one because, the practitioner that I worked with in New York, she had several clients who did meet her target market criteria. She was able to talk to them and then uncover that, because I think of the nature of fertility issues, these women were the most comfortable in like private Facebook groups where they could just like vent and like share and, and it didn't get linked back to anything else. But that's not necessarily the case in all, so I do think that depending on the types of people that you're working with, like, if you can even identify things like, that's why the market research is so helpful, because you don't have to get her market research uncover that Facebook group. But if you do the market research based on people that just fit, if it's a job title, if it's an age range, if it's things like that, then you can then narrow it down to where they are. And that might not be Facebook groups at all. It might be something totally different.
So what I'm hearing you say is that jumping in on somebody's recommendation without doing market research might be dangerous.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Lori had a good question. She
Yeah,
typed in, what if you've taken on the wrong client? You want to elaborate?
Yeah, I think who hasn't?
Yeah. Years ago, I worked with a designer, and it's okay to fire a client.
It is.
But that's really hard. I've worked with some people doing my packages, and it's like, no, this isn't right. This isn't right. When's the time when you say, well, maybe you can do it better?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or maybe you need to work with someone else.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a whole different type of conversation, but I have, I've come across this many times. And I brought this up kind of as a little bit of a point in the presentation where, I've worked with people who came to me who are solving a problem they have a solution for a problem that doesn't exist. And they do not want to hear that it doesn't, that there's no, like, they're not solving any problem here. They just don't want to hear it. So in that case, there's different ways that I've like talked them through. First of all, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, well then let's go through like these proven methods. Like, let's work on, let's start this market research process. Let's see if we can go from there. If that doesn't work, most of the time, I'll be honest, they figure it out themselves that it's not going to work. And then we can both sort of split, but I do try to give them the benefit of the doubt, and hope that they'll kind of adapt to the kind of mindset that will allow them to actually solve a problem in the marketplace that it exists. But it doesn't always work out that way. So I agree with the person that told you that in the past. It is okay to part ways with people.
Yeah, sometimes they don't. I believe in, if you're going to someone for help, they're the expert. I know what I do and I'm good at what I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to this person because they're good at what they do. So I'm not going to tell them how to do their job. But not everyone thinks like that.
Yeah. What Joe just said in the chat is spot on. Yeah, it's very similar to what I've said in the past too. I've even said, ethically, I cannot take your money just based on the fact that I don't feel necessarily like, we're on the same page here. And that's kind of how, I've parted ways with people in that type of situation.
Erica brings up a good point. I think so many of us in the wellness industry, I mean, these are touchy topics. Like you said, these are touchy topics. And she was saying, this weight loss research, she's been having lots of trouble with doing that research, that market research, because if she calls in anything and talks about weight loss, people are very sensitive about that topic.
Yeah.
Actually, she said she's been kicked out of groups for offering a free PDF.
Wow.
So any suggestions for Erica? And
Yeah.
actually, it wouldn't be, I mean, I think this is broad. I think so many of us, if you're working with someone's health, it's a touchy subject.
Can I address something real quick? Because I think, Sarah, you said something like people really do want to help, right? But they don't necessarily want to contribute, right? And so when I have said, this is what I need for my business, or this is what I'd like to offer you for something, I get crickets. But when I say I need help doing 3 things, I get volunteers, volunteers, volunteers. And so I'm wondering if, you know,
it's the way you frame it.
It is like, you know, in those, so instead of offering the free PDF, I need 5 people to look at this for me so that I can get this done. If anybody's willing, I'd really love your help. And you get 50 people offering to take your free PDF.
You just nailed.
Is there integrity in that?
Yeah, you just nailed it. It's all about how you frame, how you frame it to people. So, you know, instead of saying, you know, instead of offering a free PDF, you know, you could say, again, ask people that are close to you. Do you know anyone that might, you know, be interested in learning more about this? Do you know, personal introductions, I think are a really important way to get to know people, especially in this kind of a community. But yeah, 100%, it's all about how you frame it. If you ask anything about your business, if you, just the littlest ounce of vulnerability will get people to just, I think in my experience, will get people to open up. Even the most like, you know, buttoned up, like stuffy kind of I hope they're not listening to this, but like the financial people that I used to work with, it will get them to open up. Like they see you as a human, and they respect you as a human, and they open up to you.
Well, and there's something to be said for like, if I've asked for somebody to, you know, just take a look at my new website and, you know, send me feedback. I got a lot of people who are willing to do that. Yeah, and then they looked at my website.
And then they're probably like,
oh, who knew?
Who knew? I need to call Liz. Or I know somebody else that might be, you know.
Well, and I literally just got a client when I asked for help doing that prerequisite, if anybody remembers that. And one of the women who offered to do it was a friend from high school. I haven't seen her in 30 years.
Yeah.
And she became a client because she liked the things I was doing. It was just, but it was because I asked for help, not because I offered to help anyone else.
Exactly. When you ask for help for yourself, again, it's that vulnerability piece. And I don't know if you guys have ever like read any of Brene Brown's books or any of that stuff, but like that vulnerability is so key. And I think, you know, getting to the bottom of, and really connecting with people. I think vulnerability is so key in connections.
I think especially in this point of this market research, that is asking for help.
100%.
And and while you're doing this market research, they're seeing what you're doing and seeing, you know, so, and then also asking, instead of looking at someone and saying, well, Joe, you and I have talked about this. Is somebody looking at you and saying, well, you really should do my program because you need to lose weight. I know, Frida, isn't that right? But it happens. But you can unmute yourself, Frida. But if you focus focus on the actual pain point, usually is not something like lose weight, but it's more of, they want to feel better. They want to play with their grandchildren. They're tired of having trouble getting out of the chair or up and down the stairs or that kind of thing. But I mean, anyone who's overweight knows they're overweight. It's not a secret.
It's similar to when like people, like it just happened to me this morning. I was at a networking event that I was expecting to see you at, Frida. And somebody said, are you working with this particular woman? Are you working with her? because she really needs you. And I said, no, I said, I haven't worked with her before. And she said, well, you should tell her. And I said, no, I'm not going to tell her that she needs me. I said, you can tell her, but I'm not gonna.
No.
Yeah. And but Robin and I both know a coach who will tell everybody that's on here right now what you need and why you need to work with her. So
you need to work with the people who have recognized that they have a problem, not you identify. You know, like I'm in a skincare, and when I was in my previous days, I have a lot of team members, and they always think they will go to the people that they need help with the skin, but it's actually the people who take care of their skin. It's the person that put that on the top priority. And those are the people you talk to.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what, hopefully the market research piece of this helps you guys to uncover a little bit more. And then again, it helps you to understand, like, in the language that these people speak in, so it's not just like Frida just said, it's not, somebody it's the people that are already taking care of their skin that are interested in this type of skincare product. It's not people who are brand new to this world.
And finding that language is I think key to it. If you say it in your language, and I trouble as a scientist, I'm just going to have look at my passion. My passion is science. So people who work with me are going to, at least if they don't know science, they're going to respect it. But the actual words, going into other gurus, big gurus that are doing something similar that you are, or something that resonates with you, and seeing what people are talking in their group or asking questions about, that's getting their language. It's very fascinating. I mean, that you kind of be behind the wall. You're not in there to jump and say, here I am, and I can help you. You're just there to be part of the group, and then to watch what people are asking and watch what people are concerned about. What is their pain point?
You're there to learn. Yeah, you're there to learn.
That resonate with what you're doing that could help them. Again, that's not the time to jump in and say to them, oh, I could help you. No, don't do that. That's going to get you kicked out. Just acknowledge that start writing down those terms, the words they're using.
Yeah. Those are the themes that I mentioned before. Like, write down the themes that come up, the words that come up, the way people describe things. So I know for me, in doing this for myself, it was a little bit humbling the first time I did it, and I do it a lot. I probably do this about every 6 months. But it was quite humbling, because there were ways that I described things that I did. And in the first market that I worked in, was, in my background, was technology companies. And there was things that I used to describe what I was doing for them, that even though coming from a technology company, the folks these founders of technology companies weren't using it to describe it for themselves. They said it in a whole different kind of way. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I needed to reformat my own language. And Robin, you're right. Like, you go in and you just listen, you just absorb, you just take it all in. And then sometimes naturally, that can become like your client list, and people will approach you and they will want to work with you. But the whole point is to just learn, and then to take that back to your own business, apply it, and then, move forward from there and see, how you can create marketing material or market into those folks.
Yeah, use their verbiage. Use their words.
Exactly.
I remember,
because we know what we're talking about.
Robin, I remember when we first sat down together a little over 8 years ago, and I was about 30 pounds overweight, maybe a little more. And Robin didn't go, dang, you're fat. No, she didn't. She just listened to me. She asked me, what are your goals? She asked me the right questions, and let me just share with her my feelings. And the biggest thing for me, honestly, at that time, was just how I looked, how I felt about how I looked, and how I felt about myself. Then the second part that Robin, didn't like, which we still joke about to this day, is that every morning I would honestly wake up and say, is today going to be the day I have a heart attack? And but it was, and we talked about that, and
we had phone calls about that.
That is not my concern anymore.
Yes,
Goodness.
that's nice. So now what do you say when you wake up in the morning? What am I going to
I
do
wake
great
up every
today?
day and say, thank you, God, for another day. That's my first thing I say every morning.
I love that.
And you have a lovely bride.
I do. Who's sitting about 15 feet away from me up there.
Hi, Julie.
She's waving. But the
So,
point
yeah,
was
well-
that Robin asked the right questions
Mhm.
without being pushy and saying, buy my stuff, buy my stuff.
Mhm.
She let me ask her about it.
Right. I mean, I think that's where everyone is, to be curious.
Mhm.
And in the marketing research, like I said, that's the raising hand. I need help. And so you can ask questions when they know that that's what you're doing. You're not doing a sales pitch. You're just
Yeah.
you're doing marketing research to get
And you
more
can
for
say
them
up front.
too.
Yeah,
So
and
it
you
could
can
be
say
even
up front, this
you
is
know.
not a sales pitch. This is not
Yeah.
a sales pitch. I will not try to sell this to you. I just genuinely need some feedback.
Absolutely.
So I just had a thought, I don't know. So for example, if someone say, Erica, someone say, yeah, I have such a problem. I always go to the refrigerator to get certain things. Instead of saying, I can teach you, you can say, oh, I would like to hear from the rest of the group. How do you all working on combating that problem there? And now you're going to hear a lot of what people do, and that could be in your things, and now you know. So yeah, anyway, is that a good input there?
I think so, yeah.
I think so.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I don't do pushy salesy things. Like it's all question-based stuff. So it's just a matter of getting somebody in front of me to actually do the questions.
Yeah, and
Right.
honest,
And I mean, I think just be like vulnerable, like you said, and honest, and say, hey, and just right up front, I'm doing research for, what I'm just doing marketing research. I'm really not trying to sell to you at all.
Yeah.
And who knows, I mean, what that can happen, and then they can like it and they can want to do it.
mhm. And if
I
you
think
guys have,
That's okay.
I was just gonna say, if you guys have any questions or you want to kind of form some of these questions or figure out what that looks like for you, I'm happy to just to talk to you and, walk through what that could look like for your own business. If that would be helpful, just reach out to me. Let me know.
Yeah. And like I said, I'll send an email later tonight or in the morning with a recording, and then how to reach Sarah. And I think that's a wonderful idea to have a one-on-one with Sarah, find out what's going on.
Awesome.
Any
Sounds
parting
good.
messages? Like almost time. We're just perfect timing.
Do
I
you
just
want
want to say it was my connect. It was me knowing Sarah and hearing her passion for helping people in the health and wellness world is why I wanted to connect her with Robin, because I felt like that would be a match made in heaven, because I really do believe she can help. I know she can help people in this sphere. And that's why I'm so glad, Robin, you're helping to make that happen here. So thank you.
Thank you both.